Hey, how's everyone doing today? I hope you all had a great weekend. I had a pretty good one. I figured for my video this week, I would take a similar route to last week. I went on Google and went back to my This Week in History website, and something really interesting I found to talk about was that this week in history, Thurgood Marshall was elected to the Supreme Court, becoming the nation's first African American Supreme Court justice. Now, this is monumental for many reasons, but I think the most important reason was that his ascension to the Supreme Court came only a couple years after the passage of the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 1965. After leaving Google, I went on to Project Muse, which is our assigned database this week, and I found a couple of really good sources I wanted to talk about briefly. The first source I found was in the Human Rights Quarterly, and it was on Thurgood Marshall's African journey. It talks about Thurgood's rise to the Supreme Court, but it also talks about the impact he had outside the United States. Specifically, it talks about the impact he had on Kenya and the creation of their constitution. I thought that was really amazing to think about, that his reach extended past the borders of the United States, and he had a huge impact, and he may not have realized the impact he had on people outside of the country, but I'm sure looking down now, he'd be really pleased and really happy that he could have been such a light and such a beacon to others whenever they were searching for their own human rights and civil rights. So I really like that article. And then the other one that I found, which is called Thurgood, and it's by Jonah Winter, it interestingly enough is a children's picture book. At least that is how it is listed. I don't have the book in my possession. I'm going off of what Project Muse has told me. I found it to be very useful because in it reviews Thurgood Marshall's extensive legal career working for the NAACP and his impact on civil rights in case after case. And ultimately this culminated in his election to the Supreme Court. And I think it paints a very good picture of Thurgood Marshall, no pun intended. I think it's a very valuable source of information, and in some cases, something so basic as a picture book can be as valuable as a 500-page text. I think as long as the information you are using is true and it is accurate and it paints a good picture of the topic it's discussing, it can be just as valuable as anything else out there. So I wanted to just talk about that briefly. So to wrap up, I just thought it could be a really interesting topic to talk about with Thurgood Marshall, because he had a huge impact on civil rights, and to see him just make it to the Supreme Court only a couple years after the Civil Rights Acts were passed, I think it's really important. And I think when professors and teachers talk about civil rights, we hit the big names, we hit the big events. We talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and more recently we talk about Barack Obama's election as President of the United States. And these are all really important people, and the impacts they had are just immeasurable. But I feel like we also miss the mark sometimes when we talk about famous civil rights figures. And just to see Thurgood Marshall's rise to the nation's high court, I mean, it's a testimony to how quickly civil rights were able to move once something was really done about creating this equality between race. And I just thought it could be a really interesting topic to talk about, especially in the classroom. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I look forward to hearing from you.